Hey, everybody. Sorry for the delay. I know I'm running 10 minutes late. Just got jammed up today, big time. So I apologize. And we'll get to it right now. Let me just drop this link in the trading room. And then we'll go from there. Right now. And I do want to get these on at 8:30. It's just, it's been kind of crazy lately. And I'll just put the name right here. Monkey. Okay, and then we're just going to go here and go. Hold on 1 second. And then just go here. I got to put this hashtag on it so people find us live. And let's go. Let's get to it. So again, apologize. So got people coming in now. So that's good. I'll give it a minute and then we'll go from there. Good morning, William. So I'm just going to start and then throw your questions in the room and we will go from there. The biggest thing I think we should be just talking about are the index is to start. And I'll answer any questions that you have, but I want to start here and then we're going to talk about monkeypox and what's going on with a couple of those names. I'm not going to talk about all of them because there's so many, but look, there is nothing redeeming about what you're seeing this morning. Nothing. Just understand where you are in the pecking order. Understand that if you click off this and you still see that data, okay, you have a bear flag. There's nothing to get excited about here. And I think you need to kind of take that into account. So I would not be getting overly excited about this. I'd be on the other side of it, quite frankly, selling the rallies until you get through GDP and Fed minutes and NVIDIA's earnings. Until you're through those three things, I don't think you're going to see a lot of people putting money to work. Real people, real money, like funds, right? Again, here you have a little bear flag kind of forming an H. I would love nothing more than to start taking out these higher highs, but until you start taking out a higher high, you cannot assume that you're at a bottom. You undercut here, you're forming an H. So, you have a lot of work to do before you can get higher. So everybody just kind of needs to chill. Now, I will say this. This is a 20-year bond, and this is where you're at. Okay? So if you could flip this level right here, that would be great, right? If you could flip right here, higher high, that would be amazing. Let me just actually move that over so you see the whole thing. But that would be huge if you could do that on the 20-year going into this week. And we have the same thing with the 10-year. And I like what the 10-year is doing because, frankly, what you're doing here is you have a higher low, lower high. So you're forming a wedge line, but that wedge line, this is a 5 and a 10 moving average they have in there right now. And, I would strongly suggest, I said this in yesterday's private video, start using your 10 again. You might want to start putting that into your charts again. I do think that would be extremely helpful right now. I think you'd find a lot of value in that, and you'd be surprised at how we're respecting the 10 again. 10's old school. Also, funds use it more than they use the 8. So just keep that in mind. Do what you want with that. But look at this. Lower high, lower low. I mean, it gets pretty clean, right? Very clean. So something to think about. And we'll go from there. Morning, William. HRB puts, thoughts out to July. What's going on, Damien? I don't know, brother. Let's take a look. Yeah, I don't know that I'd go out that far right now. Why? Because of the VIX. So if you look at the VIX and where you're at in the pecking order, you're still high. You still have fear. 30 is fear, right? It's not as much fear as I think you need to put a bottom in, but that's still fearful. So what I'm looking for is I'm looking for fear, right? And then to kind of go from there. And we're not getting what I want, just candidly, man plans, God laughs, all that. But would you be buying puts into that out to July? No, because here's what's going to happen. Let's just say devil's advocate that we go back to 20. Okay, let's just devil's advocate. We go back to 20. Now, I'm not saying that you're going to go back anytime soon. You have a trend line here and you have another one right here. But you have to understand where you are in the pecking order of the VIX when you're buying puts and calls. And a lot of people don't understand why their charts or their options aren't working right now. I've tried to explain this, with theta and the implied volatility. And this is what, that's what you're fighting, inflated theta. And then the volatility is doing that to you. But so you could have a 30% down move, which could legitimately half your option of implied volatility, and the stock stays exactly where it is, right? So you have to really understand options in Vega and Theta, Gamma. You have to understand all that right now. This is not something I would short yet. I would not be short that yet. I came out, I earned $4. I'm staying above. Look, if I click off of the pre and the post, that's my range. Have I broken out of my range? No, I haven't. So I'd be real careful there shorting that right now. You could just be forming a pendant and getting ready to break out. These wicks are price rejection. So I'm rejecting selling here and I'm forming this doji. So I have a decision to make. Now, if I close below this or close below that, then yeah, then I'd look at it, Damien. But until then, no, I really wouldn't be playing with it. So good morning. Looking at Amazon shares, I still wait. I would still wait. Yeah. So I think that I think you need to wait. Here's how I would play Amazon. This is when I would realize that it's time to buy Amazon or give Amazon a chance right there. 23.16, Jen. That's when I would be looking at it. Let me just see something. Hold on one second. Let me just answer this in the room. And go from there. But I'd be watching that 23.16 and seeing if you flip. Now, see where we're at? I'd be careful. I'd be really careful. Also, understand with Amazon, like Jen, look, tomorrow's Best Buy, okay? Tomorrow night's Nordstrom's, Urban Outfitters. Tomorrow morning, Abercrombie, Ralph Lauren, Petco. Wednesday is Dick's. The list just goes on and on and on. Thursdays or Wednesday nights, Williams and Sonoma. Thursday morning is Macy's, Dollar Tree, Dollar General. Burlington Coat Factory. Thursday night is Costco and Gap and American Eagle Outfitters. So the amount of damage that could be done to Amazon on any of those names, on top of going into Fed Minutes Wednesday, GDP on Thursday, you're stepping in front of a train. Now, I'm not suggesting that you short it, but unless I got above 23.16, Jen, I would not feel a need to panic and run in there. It's just where my head is. I would wait. My friend. Oh, yeah. And thank you for the comments. I like the newer system. I'm going to learn it more to move around in it. I started experimenting with it this morning in the private video, but I got to learn that system more. I like it more because I can draw on the charts. If it did nothing else but allowed me to draw on the charts on that other platform, that's what I would do, just because I can draw on it. And I'm a very visual person. But I appreciate all the comments because I read every single comment. And even though it takes a while to answer them, it's crazy. Some of the comments don't show up for weeks. It's really weird. Morning, Shelter. What's going on? What's going on, Sean? Hey, Debazian. Good morning. Dow Chemicals. I think chemical companies are going to go up. I'm not so sure I'd be getting in front of this, right? So I would also note how it's acting with the 10-day, but look right there. And look what's going on. Okay? So something to think about. I wouldn't be rushing into that right now. I really wouldn't. Yep. Please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. There's also a clips channel now. You know what? I should probably let people know that. The guy that's helping with the clips channel is probably going to be mad that I don't promote that. But I'm fortunate enough to have somebody help cut up the videos now, and they're putting them into clips. You might notice that on Twitter, but there's also a clips channel. So what you can do is take a look at that if you want. It's just RTA trading clips, but it breaks some of these down into like 30 seconds. There's some other content on there that's not on this channel too. So something to think about if that's of interest to you. But please like the video. I'm shocked at how much that actually helps support the channel. I wasn't aware of that it was so supportive, but it is. So please do that, and we'll go from there. And I just posted those links in here, and we'll go from there. All right, great. Let me just keep going. Interested to hear SQM. I'm interested too. So you're moving up. You had some earnings. They were good. Pre and post, you kind of fell off. I don't think there's much to say here except that the chart looks good. I would watch that you're over and see if you cut under. You did that once before right here. Right? And then it took about a week before it rallied. I don't know your time frame. The more information you give me, the better off I can, give my opinion. I mean, all it is an opinion, right? So you see how you just kind of aged here after you popped over and then went back down. So you're kind of popping over, going back down. Happens 2-3 days after earnings, forms a wedge line, and then goes, right? Always helps to kind of get a sense of how you trade. Because these stocks trade like this. Why? Well, they trade like this because they trade like the people that own them, right? Whoever's trading this is how they trade. So that's how they move. Now, something like this, I just be careful because you at least get over the open, at least get over that opening price. So that's what I would do. But I like that. Now, one person's asked about the VMware. It's interesting. What do you think of 3M? By the consolidation? Depends on your time frame and what you're thinking. What are you thinking about it? Are you thinking that you want to hold it forever? Are you thinking that industrial kinds of companies are going to do well right now in the current environment? I'm not so sure that I think that. So what I would do with 3M, what would interest me about 3M is their dividend. Okay, and understanding their dividend. And do they have a dividend? They do. They pay 4%. Okay, so you're going to see people buy that and start accumulating that down here at 4%. So they're getting 25 basis, or they're getting 100 basis points over the. Actually, they're getting way more than that. Hold on. Yeah, you're getting 112 to 125 basis points over the 10-year, and you're getting this stock. I mean, I could see people buying this and holding it. So, I mean, I could see that. Sure. Oh, that's crazy. You would have had it double in 3M. Who knew? But I think that you just, you got to be careful. I mean, it's not my kind of trade because you're going to buy it and have to sit with it for a year before you make any money. I have the patience of a gnat. So that's not going to work for me. But that can work, Mills. That trade definitely can work. Depends on your time frame. If you're looking out like years, yeah. Absolutely. I also think it's interesting that you're unable, even with the sell down, like you understand it's an industrial, right? So look at that. The fact that you were unable to close down, even though this just got walloped, right? These got walloped. We had a great trade on this on Friday. So you're in that space that's going to get walloped. Now, just something to think about. I don't know how much lower they go or where they go to, but just understand you're consolidating. Cigna. Yep. So I'm completely out of that trade. I bought this on Friday. I sold. I was actually trading it like Friday at 8 p.m. And we had a nice rally up after this, and then just you could see by like 8, we got up to like here. I'm like, okay, that's enough. I blew it out. Come in this morning, you're up a little bit more. Simple enough trade. All you're doing is just watching. This is your bar. And I was down to the last bit of it. You break your breakout bar. That's enough. And I'll come back to it, take a look, see if there's another trade there today. Just be careful with these because they are what they are. Okay. Is there a valid reason for this stock to have gone from 7? Maybe if they were the only ones that had the vaccine, maybe, but they're not the only ones that have the vaccine. I mean, there's a whole litany of these names. So once you start seeing these names start to rally and break down, and kind of have to start watching them. To me, they'll start rolling again. It's a matter of time before they'll roll. But I was hoping for more action than I'm seeing today. And this is already putting in that bottom. Right? We're already putting in that bottom on the day. Like you can already tell that this is not setting up to be a great day. So be really careful with these. Really careful. Let me get a little more coffee here. Let's get back. Okay. Good morning. Please let me know your thoughts on Tesla. Interest I'm thinking of waiting for a bounce. Yeah, I mean, I think you have to wait for a bounce now. Like, could you short Tesla just going into this? You could. I mean, where's your edge? Right? Like, that's kind of how I'm looking at it. Like, you could. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but you're kind of in limbo. I don't think you're getting above the 10. Is my personal opinion. So where's that put me? Right. I don't think you're ever getting there right now, unless, unless he invents something that changes the world, something else that changes the world. I just don't think you're getting there. I think that this is setting up very clearly low. I think it's setting up very clearly for a big waterfall event, especially as tight as this is getting down here. It's more advanced. I really haven't done a video on that, but I'd watch that RSI video that I did if you're not familiar with this, because this perfectly called this top. I mean, if you understand RSI, you understand what just happened here and how that just was a perfect short. It's crazy how perfect that was. So anyway, I would be really careful right here. Really careful. It's not something that I would really consider doing anything with. I'd be very careful. You could bounce 50 points like it's nothing. Like I'm trying to give you another spot. I wouldn't even look at this. It's such an anomaly. So this is the high, 666.90. So call it 667. So maybe you could use that. Maybe you could watch that level. Now, if you take that level and you draw it straight across, does that give us anything more? Kind of does right here. You can kind of see how it rallied here and had some issues and how it was right there. Let's get rid of these indicators. So, and then maybe we can just kind of go back and go, well, you really haven't been here, have you? Right? So, I mean, that would be the first level, 667. That's what I would be looking for. Maybe you could do it there, and then you could just look at these other points of reference, because this is where an algo stepped in or a huge fund stepped in and just said, I'm selling everything I have, right? They're your levels. So you might want to remember those and see how you act at those levels. But you need to do it. To me, you need to do it. You're welcome, brother. You need to do it on a pop. Yeah, I'm curious about that, Debasian, because is the cost to buy the goods to make the chemicals going up as well? Because if they have, then you're not really getting a benefit from it, right? So you need material to make helium, right? I mean, you're a chemist. I'm not a chemist. I took OChem, but that doesn't make me a chemist. But So I think you have to, you kind of have to think about it from that perspective. Like, did the cost of goods in order to make the materials go up? And if the answer is yes, okay, by what percentage? So, good evening. Can you tell me your thoughts on SQ and LIT, please? Hey, Haley. So, yeah, let's take a look. But what's good is we're actually starting to get more retail interest, which is actually meaning that maybe we're going to have some kind of waterfall event and start being able to go higher. I always watch like retail sentiment. Makes a difference. It's really hard to tell you to buy this, Haley. I mean, it's really hard to tell anybody to buy this here. Like the first thing you have to see is this clear, something like that repeatedly. So you need to see 86.15 cleared repeatedly. Even if you want to come down here and use this level, let's say 86, 85, 33. And then we'll go from there. But let's see what happens. It's not something where I would be rushing into to be short. Let me put it to you that way. And I certainly wouldn't be long. I definitely would not be looking at this on the long side. I mean, it has so much work to do, unless you're trying to buy it for it to go like up to 100 or something. But that has so much work to do that it's not even appealing to me. I mean, so much. And they keep dropping here, like, look, Kelly. They just keep dropping the trajectory, right? Tried to flip it, couldn't, broke down. Look, you get a bounce in Bitcoin. Maybe you can make a little money off of this. Maybe. And Bitcoin's trying to hold that level. Maybe it does. I don't see how it's going to, but maybe it does. If that happens, maybe you can see a move in square, but let's see. It's not something else. It's not something I'd be paying it. It's not something I'd be doing. LIT. Yeah, I would think that this would start getting a little more exciting, and it's just not. Let's get rid of all that. Global lithium battery tech. So what I would focus on are names like this and kind of go from there. Right? Like, look at that. I mean, if you could get over that level, right, maybe 75, maybe, because then you have a higher high. This would be interesting to see what the RSI is doing. So your RSI is right in line with your movement. You are above the 5 and the 10. Where are you with the 50? Yeah, you're staying above the 50, which is good. I mean, out of the two that you just gave me, let me just make this I'm going to get rid of the 8. I'm just going to make this a 21. Well, we never above the 21. Let's just make it a 200. Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I would look for 75 before I'd buy it, but I could see why somebody would buy that one. Especially, I'd be more interested in this and the undercut and then possibly flipping this than I'd be interested in square, Haley. Good morning. Can you explain what to look for in Fed meeting Wednesday? We're selling bonds 6-1 because the market sell off. Nat, the question for that is simple, right? So the question really is how much is factored in, how much is not factored in. Like for me, look, the bond market was just I don't think it would give me that. The bond market was just in a position where it was selling down, and now we're trying to rally again. I would watch this because if you overlay this, and I don't believe I can do that on this system, but if you can overlay this with the S&P, I mean, here, look, right? Since this broke, okay, since this broke in February and started going up, once you broke that level, that was it. What was that, March 14th? I mean, just come here. right? Take a look, right? You can see rally and then boop, that was it. So you're very tied to those. The S&P is very tied to those. So what I'm trying to figure out is how much of this is factored in. That's what we don't know. Nat, we just don't know. To go back to your question, we don't know how much is factored in. What would cause the market to sell off? This is what will cause the market to sell off. The expectation that the Fed selling bonds is greater than we expected. Okay, that's what I would look for. That's what you're going to be focused on. So, how would you play Cigna? Right now, I would not. I would not be playing that. It was one that I actually did over the weekend where I put it in the top 10 because I didn't know, when I did that video, I didn't know where we were going to wind up, frankly. You just don't know. But you can see these levels and you can see what's going on. Now, if you throw in the pre and the post and you get rid of the indicators, okay? See where I'm going with this? So I would be careful. I would be really careful here. So it looks like that guy's back. Who's ever buying at 1430's back, right? So if you think about these little lines and these little spots, as that's the spot where someone's dug their heels in and said, yeah, I'm going to buy everything you have. If you start thinking that way, or that's where the seller dries up, no matter how you think about it, and you start looking at those levels, the charts become a little cleaner to look at, don't they? Right? So, because then if this guy stops buying, you're like, oh, we lost, and you think about it from the perspective of we lost our buyer, it changes. So you might want to just remember these levels, and they're the levels I would look at today, Brian. I don't have any longs that I'm going crazy about right now. I mean, I think you might want to look at the bond market. I think the bond market, I think this might bottom. I'm looking at buying some of this LABU and putting it away for like a year or two. Other than that, I'm all about that Exxon life, Exxon, CVX. These names, it's same superheated, like these names, BPT. This one just hit a new high. Like these kinds of basin royalty trusts, when people are understanding their dividends, they're like, oof, like this needed to do something. It didn't do anything since January. It's doing something now, isn't it? So SJT will be another one, right? Like these companies are just they're cash cows. So they're just absolute cash cows. That would be my focus if I had to buy. Look, what the problem with buying, Edward, is that your risk parameters are changing. So like Target shouldn't do this. Walmart, right, shouldn't do this. Like they don't do this. So your risk parameters are so off. And I think that's one of the reasons you're going to have a hard time finding real money coming into the market, because they're going to be like, well, I thought I was safe in Walmart. I figured maybe I dropped 10% and I just sit with it, maybe add to it. And then you come in, Tuesday or Wednesday or whatever heck day it was, and you're down 30% in Walmart, wondering what the heck just happened. So it makes you really gun shy. And so, yeah, I think funds are going to be scared. Look, the thing with wheat is this is what I think is going to happen. I personally think that he's going to open up the Black Sea. I think Putin's going to stop with the Black Sea stuff. And I don't know how else to say it. I'm not a geopolitical person. And I think that they're going to come to some grip on sanctions, and they're going to lessen sanctions somehow. And that could drop wheat down precipitously. So like if I was a betting person, I'd be really careful buying wheat here, because I fully expect him to want to get rid of some of the sanctions and establish his dominance. which he's done. No matter no matter what you're reading on the media, okay, European countries are paying in rubles. No matter how you want to slice it, they're opening up accounts and paying in rubles. Period. Okay, he's not going to be. I mean, to think that this guy was going to be paid in a currency that you were not going to let him use is probably one of the most foolish things I think I've seen in probably a century. I mean, it's ridiculous. We're going to pay you in a currency, but you can't use it because we want to sanction you. So you don't do what we don't want you to do. Like, just think about it from that perspective. Like, it's nuts. So he's in the driver's seat now. Okay, so you have to think about that's why this is going up, right? Now, this is what's going on with the ruble. So since you began sanctions, and this is all connected, that's why I'm going through it. So since you began sanctions, the ruble is up 25% versus the dollar after this initial move. Okay, and the majority of the world, the Western world, has no way to play that. So how are they going to hedge? How are they going to hedge if they can't buy rubles? Right? You see where I'm going with this? So if you can't hedge, you can't hedge ruble. You can't hedge the EU, right? You can't hedge the euro properly because it's only really the ruble you're dealing with. So how is that all going to affect wheat? How's that going to affect corn? And I think that's one of the reasons, like, why I'm still in this trade. But it's one of the reasons that gives me pause with it is because he's getting more and more in the driver's seat. And to me, I think he's going to lessen so that he seems magnanimous and releasing the wheat shipments out of the Black Sea. Now, if he does that, wheat will plummet. So I would be, that's where I was going with this whole conversation. So I would be very apprehensive buying wheat here. If I didn't have the corn position and I wasn't like a stickler for letting things work out just to see if I'm right or wrong, I'd watch that. But I don't think it's going to affect oil the same way because of refinery capacity. And I don't think they're going to allow it to affect oil the same way. So that's where my head is. So I'm not a big buyer of wheat right now. Went long pan Friday. Yeah, I'd be careful there, man. I think all they did was just allow people to sell into that. So I'd be really careful there. I did not see the move that I wanted to see. We saw it the day before. You gapped up and you couldn't even get back over the open. If you can't get over your open, just be careful. I don't know that you're getting into this. I don't know. You had sellers in there. I don't know that you're getting above that anytime soon. So good earnings are not being rewarded. What's going on, beast mode? I mean, you can buy them Dan ahead. I have no idea how it's going to act on earnings. I mean, you know that. Like it could be a disaster and pull KSS, right? I mean, KSS was a disaster, and then it just traded up all day, right? So you don't know. Like a lot of this is starting to get baked in. Like look at Ross Stores. We shorted this and hardly made any money, right, that day. So you just don't know. If you're going to play the gap, yeah, you want to short into a rally. If you can get to 22.5, you'd want to short in the rally. You're hoping to catch a move like this. And they're going to be out there this week. I mean, there's like 10 retail names where that's going to be out there. So good morning. What's going on, Bob? Apple on any rallies, I'll be shorting. Get me to 140, I'll be all over it again. You know, there's no way that you're not testing this. There's no way that that's the bottom. There's just no way. So I think you're going to anything over 140 is very interesting to me. I mean, the easiest trades to me are over. I'd be really careful thinking anything's easy on the short side right now. Night, sell into the rallies and use tight stops. I mean, the easiest ones for me, if you're willing to ride the wave, is this is probably a zero. Carvani is probably a zero. I mean, people are like, oh, that can't happen. Okay. Here's Vroom at $1. Same industry, same kind of shady management, right? All insiders sold here. You know, these guys did a secondary at 80. The only person that would buy it was the CEO. He leveraged his stock to buy it. They had to issue debt at what, 12% or 10% and sell it to a vulture fund. I mean, writing's on the wall if you understand fundamentals and understand the capital structure. Like this is just a matter of time. So Let's go here. I believe it ties to most of the helium produced is a byproduct of natural gas. I believe it ties to natural gas. Most of the helium we produce is a byproduct of natural gas. Oh, maybe it doesn't matter then. Maybe that's good. I personally think it keeps going up. It very well could. It very well could, DeBazian. You could be right. You're welcome, Haley. Anytime. My pleasure. What's going on, Wes? AMD. I mean, as a short, maybe on a rally. Look, you got to look at these for what they are. Okay. I think you might put a bottom in. Whether or not you do put that bottom in remains to be seen, but you can't look at that and assume that that's a bottom, right? I can underlook at the cut here. I can understand that we didn't get as low as the Qs. I can look at all that, but you can't look at that and feel warm and fuzzy like I need to buy that, right? I mean, you just can't. 99.69, we were able to stay above it for a full day. So maybe we're bottoming. I'd be more interested in trying to buy it around 83, 84 and see if it holds that level. I don't know. I'm still short Cisco. I'm using that high as my stop. Lulu. I like this company a lot, but just disastrous, right? So going into earnings, are women going to be buying this kind of stuff still? I mean, traffic's down at these stores. Maybe you're not buying that $120 pair of leggings right now, because you're a soccer mom and you're spending $500 a month in gas. I mean, it's happening. So maybe you don't get that bump that you think you're going to get. I see a bear flag just looking at it. I mean, you should see it, but I mean, I see a bear flag. So, to me, you can short it here, but you're shorting in the earnings and you just don't know what you're going to get. Are you going to get this? Or are you going to get this? Like, you just don't know. Like, they've been crushing earnings. So you don't know. I mean, maybe that's the one store. Maybe it's the specialty. Like, that's what I'm saying. We don't know yet. Like, big boxes are getting crushed. Maybe it's the specialty stores that don't get crushed, right? Like, I don't think Williams-Sonoma gets crushed because more people are eating at home. But I could be wrong. You just don't know. Right? You just don't know. So yeah, I know people love them. People just absolutely love them. So maybe it does. Maybe it goes. Hey, Jerry. And if it gets near 700 today, I would definitely look at being short. Yeah, that could happen. I'd be careful in buying puts too, because the VIX is too high. You're at 30s. You have to be careful. I did cover NVIDIA. I'd be looking at shorting it in the 170s. I like LABU. I think it's easier. I mean, if you want to play that whole space, just buy these. Buy UNH. If you want to play that, Johnson & Johnson. I mean, that's what you could do if that's what you want to do. Yep, please like the video. It does help. It costs nothing. It's free. Let's just keep going here. And we'll keep going. Airbnb. Give me 1 second. So Airbnb. Yeah, I mean, so first off, to me, I don't think they're going to do anywhere near. Like, this was one that I shorted and then it ran up on me and then it broke and then it came back down to here. I think they have real issues. And, the CEO's running around donating money to charities for I just thought it was kind of silly. Like, that's where his priorities are. I'd be worried about my company hitting all-time lows. So once you broke this level, that was it. There's no more data, right? So you've taken out all-time lows. So everybody that owns this is down in it. Do you think they want it to go to 80? I personally would be short that on rallies. I tried to short it once. It didn't work. I should have waited for the rally. Just didn't work. So I would not be stepping in front of that. I'd be shorting it. I think snow could be an absolute disaster. I think this could be just an absolute bloodbath. This is what happened last time. This is what happened the time before. So the big companies that were dominant software like this are finally missing. So and this is no company's valued as high in this whole software space. It's the highest valuation of any company. And why is that? Because when it went public. So I almost think that every single one of these that went public, like back here or in 01, I almost think every single one of them has got to come in. So, I mean, that's kind of where my head is with it. I really believe that they all have to come in to some extent. They do love Lulu. I'll give you that, Sheltered. Oxy. I like Oxy. I think we're still in that Oxy. Leave it alone. I'm still in it. I don't see Zen's doing anything with it. Like, what are you going to do with it? It's holding the 10. Between the 5 and the 10, you're trapped. Leave it alone. We're in a little higher. I mean, if it breaks 63 and closes below it, I'll blow it out. But I have nothing to do there. Good morning, Kay. I don't know, Kay. I mean, there's a huge erosion there. I think the way to use those are twofold. So the way for me to use them is the specialty ones, I think you have to be very careful of. Like these, you have to be really careful of, these specialty ones, right? Because this could double and go to 12, and you're never going to see this again, right? That's just never going to happen, right? But because of what they are and how they're formed, right? But names like this, look, I scale into this. Like I have accounts where I'll scale into this for years on pullbacks. This is what I was explaining to people when they're like, well, why wouldn't you just buy this one? It's so much easier to just buy this and forget it. Is it? Like even here, like, and here's where we'll go with it. Like, let's just forget about this huge drop. But would this have been easy? Would this have been an easy 3 months for somebody to lose 50% of their value? Right? In 2016, would that have been easy? Probably not. How about this, right? So if you're here and you bought this day, you say, I'm just going to level into it. And then, okay. So you had a 60% drawdown. Is that going to be easy? So I think that's what people have to realize. I bought it here. Okay, I've got a 70% drawdown. So not everyone can handle those. But if you look at it from the index standpoint, when you're doing it with the indexes, I think if you're looking super long term, it makes sense. But you have to look at it from an index perspective, not like a sector perspective. The sectors could never come back or could take years, and they can bleed out the whole time. The indexes are the indexes. So I've been buying TQQ the whole way down. I think my average cost on it now is like 40 on what I've been doing, and I'll buy it the whole way down. If the NASDAQ goes to zero, we don't have a civilization. So that's how I'm looking at it. Versus just buying this, it would be a lot cleaner. But LABU I've been picking at, I'm looking at a year or two, but I'm only looking at it trying to get to 15, 20 bucks. I have no delusions that I'm getting back up to here. So it depends on your time frame, what you're thinking about. Sorry, I left that up the whole time. Hey, Sally. Could you please look at defense stocks, LARTX? All right, so let's look at defense stocks. So to start here, this is what you should be looking at. Lockheed Martin. It's telling you everything that's going on, okay? Just look at Lockheed. Broke the 50. It tells you everything you need to know. There's no need to go near these anymore. Okay, they got their big payoff on the $40 billion that we just issued for some godforsaken reason. And they got their big payoff, and they're done, and the trade's done. So, it is what it is. I think that they're completely broken down. I think this is telling you everything you need to know about what's going to happen. I would not be a buyer of those at all, Sally. I don't know that I would add here. I'd let it play out. Let it play out first. I got to jump. I stayed a little later than usual. Everyone have a great day. Trade to win today.